life.
Totally. So sometimes there have been times when I'd written a chapter and sent it to him, and he would send me a WhatsApp with a crying emoji and all saying, "How did you do that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just went back to 1960 or 1970." So yeah, that's what I suppose. That's how I did it.
That's very inspiring. Wow, I'm so lost for words to describe. I mean, this is your experience, but I'm in awe actually. But anyway, I think that is something that any young aspiring writers or writers to be would like to know. Maybe because what I would like to find out more is how did you manage to retain such a good memory? That's number one. And number two, I mean ini soalan bodoh-bodoh lah sikit kita nak tanya kan sebagai kita baru nak belajar menulis. Siapa penulis kegemaran Madam Geetha yang macam mungkin masa muda you suka baca, tadi you cerita you baca semua kan, Enid Blyton ke Agatha Christie, tapi mesti ada satu penulis yang semasa you muda I sukalah dia punya penulisan, I nak tirulah, macam tu contohnya kan. So ada two questions, satu rahsia, the secret of your capability of retaining such a good memory without even recording or writing notes. And number two is, who are your favorite authors when you were younger?
Two books and two authors always stand out for me because these two books and these two writers made a big impression on me at a very young age. So I don't know if I would recommend them to young girls especially to be reading at a certain age. I was maybe 13 when I read Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights.
Bronte sisters.
Very deep too, yes. So my mind was full of Heathcliff. I was like, wow. Till date, I imagine, a hero to be like, Heathcliff, that character left such an impact on me. And then when it was probably still the same age, 13, 14, I read Frederick Forsyth's The Odessa File.
Oh, okay.
Not the sort of book you should be reading at that age, but it left, it sort of hit me so hard. How can people tulis macam ni? Kita di sekolah diberi tajuk My Pet.
Itu pun nak tulis pun ala terkial-kial kan?
Exactly. And then we baca pula this kind of books. They weren't available in the school library. I'm just trying to recall where Odessa File was probably my brother's influence. My elder brother is the more ardent reader in the family, and I think it was his book. He's 2 years older than me. Yes.
Wuthering Heights.
But not Wuthering Heights. No, definitely he's not a Wuthering Heights person. He better not be. It's a very girly book. So Wuthering Heights, maybe school library. Well, we did have fantastic books in school libraries back then. So Wuthering Heights could have been from my school library. Yes.
That's a classic literature. I think it's a must-read for anyone. Yeah. And Frederick Forsyth, well, that can also be recommended. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But anyway, with these two authors aside, maybe you would like to suggest that for any aspiring writers, because for yourself, you also sort of trying hard to find your voice to be balanced with the other voice when you're writing a memoir. So what advice would you like to give to our audience here? And also, again, the secret to your memory capability.
Juliana, I must make a confession. You are the only one who has credited me for my memory because my entire family is always accusing me of constantly forgetting everything. And yes, so to the family, evidence, I have good memory.
So we have your family with you now here.
Yes, I have some of my family here.
Thank you for
with
coming.
Me. Yes. Memory, like I said earlier, it's only when it comes to my work. Then, hebat, memang I can recall little things. Also because my style of writing is such, I suppose, where I am constantly building a narrative in my head. Yeah, when I see something or when I'm reading something, my mind is active. I'm thinking of the kemungkinan yang ada in this scenario. For example, the seed ni, idea-nya came about during the pilihan raya ke-14, 2018. Masa tu, I was following the campaign trail of my then potential Member of Parliament, YB Hanayo. And Hanayo was talking about Segambut. So I was listening to her. And especially one thing that she said, hebat sungguh, I must read it, yeah?
Okay.
She said, Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, Segambut is symbolic for Malaysia. This is a crucial seed. When you go out to vote tomorrow, remember, the nation is looking at you, Segambut voters. I was like, yeah?
Wow, meremang saya dengar.
Yeah, hebat, right? I heard that and I was like, wow, aku citizen Segambut, tak sedar pun ya, Segambut is so important. Then it hit me. Really? Segambut is so important? And then I looked around me. YB Hanayo was talking daripada Taman Tun. Walaupun Taman Tun is a part of the parliamentary constituency of Segambut, as an orang asli, I don't know if that's the term, orang asal Segambut, I'm thinking, this is not Segambut. I know Segambut, kan? I look at Taman Tun, rumah besar-besar, all big compounds, fancy cars, gated, guarded, and I was thinking, no, this is not Segambut.
Not the one that you remember.
Of course, not my memory of Segambut and what I know of Segambut as well. So that gave me an idea. Okay, I will tell you what is Segambut. So I created this watak, the protagonist, and who is sort of telling her Member of Parliament, let me tell you what the real Segambut is. So this book is actually divided into, contains 21 chapters. 10 chapters are written in the historical present tense. Over the 5 days, 5 hari pilihan raya yang lalu, not this the latest one.
Yes.
Yang juga hebat, but the last one was a real bomb, kan? Was a real, So 10 chapters are about 5 days of that general election, the 3 hari campaign, and then on voting day and outcome day. Okay, and then I interspersed it with 10 chapters, di mana the protagonist goes back 30 years, how Segambut was dahulu.
Flashback.
Okay? A flashback. So the temanya adalah lebih kurang like Mahathir dahulu, 30 years ago.
Okay.
And then dia kembali pula. Now is also him again. He was also going to become, he was fighting to become masa tu the second Prime Minister.
Yes.
Okay.
In 2018.
So that was the sort of premise. Yeah, in 2018 I'm talking about. Yeah. So it's interspersed like that. Election, going back to 80-an, how Segambut was dahulu. And then come back to election, go back to Segambut. Come back to election, go back. And then chapter 21 is a wrap-up. What happened after the 2018 general election. I left it open-ended. It was a good thing I did that because we all know what happened.
Oh, I thought you were going to say there's going to be like a second book after this, like a sequel. Who knows?
Well, maybe from the seat will be the bench or the cabinet, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
The cabinet. From the seat, maybe the second, another book called The Cabinet. Possibly, I don't know. I'm just saying this.
It might happen, but let's wait. And everyone, let's congratulate Madam Geetha for such an inspiring story that she has shared with us, including what had really made her start this journey as a writer. Okay, I think I have maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Coming back to your writing journey, okay, as someone who has gone through not so happy stage of your life, you somehow managed to pull yourself out of that sadness valley, and you write something amazing. And I think that in itself is such an achievement, because usually people, once they are in some sort of sadness, they tend to stick to that sadness, and the product of the writing or the writings became what they have gone through. But you took a different path altogether. You managed to put that sad chapter aside, and you wrote something that is, I think, amazing for all the younger generations to know, even though they cannot see nowadays how jernih the sungai, you said. So please tell us what you wish to tell yourself or young writers today if you were like maybe 15 or 20 years ago. What would you say to yourself? Like when you were 15 years ago, you would say this to yourself or maybe to new writers of this generation?
Well, if you want to become a writer, write. If you want to become a runner, run. If you want to become a badminton player, practice. So that's the only thing I can advise potential writers. I'm sure there are many here. If you have come to an occasion like this, which is a book fair, that tells us a lot about yourself. Yeah, mesti ada, you might have, I think there's a book in everybody, and everybody has a lot of stories in us, and everybody aspires to someday possibly be publishing their own book, for instance. But the difficulty, as we all know, one, we do not persevere. Yeah. Sometimes, okay, this is Muslim resolutions, right? New Year is coming.
Yes.
I am going to write my book, okay? Which you have been telling yourself for 30 years, let's say, okay? So you make a resolution. We all do that, okay? And then, of course, dengan penuh semangat, you will write lah, maybe for a few days, if you're lucky, a few weeks, and then semangat tu menjunam like that.
Okay.
There goes one more year. So, yeah, if you want to be a writer, have goals, work towards that goal, and persevere. But more than anything, I guess you will have to dream. I heard this from Dr. Mazli yesterday when he was here to launch another book. And as the former education minister very eruditely put it to his audience yesterday, I would like to repeat the same thing. Dream, yes? And work towards that dream. Not just angan-angan lah, okay, we are talking about you dream. If you want that book, work for that book. It will materialize, okay? So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, definitely. One last before we wrap up. You mentioned that, I'm not sure if you mentioned, but you did say that you went to Frankfurt Food Book Fair. And when you trained as a memoir writer, I mean, sort of went to training for the memoir writing. Now, recently you went to the Frankfurt Book Fair. So, as a writer, as a new writer yourself, because you shared earlier that somehow you were doing it on your own, you did the fund, to get the funding yourself. For anyone who's still new and still fresh, they might not be sure where to start. How about then your experience in Frankfurt Book Fair? Because that is the oldest and like the
biggest,
the largest, the biggest book fair, international book fair in the world. So what would be your advice for any new writers so that you, when it was your experience, you wouldn't want anyone to make that mistake? Your advice.
Firstly, my advice will be to young people especially, stop whining, stop complaining, stop waiting for things to happen. I did not do any of that. I heard about the Frankfurt Book Fair and I thought, okay, it's time I went. I hadn't heard about it before, but then I read up on the Frankfurt Book Fair and then I found out how huge it was and how impactful it was and that but I want to go as part of the Malaysian delegation. So I made that effort and I went. The same way, I also invested in myself when I went to London to do that 6-month course. It was an expensive course. As you can imagine, it was with the Guardian newspaper in collaboration with East Anglia University, which specializes in creative writing. Not cheap, but I took that step. Yes.
Bold step, actually.
I don't know about bold, but I wanted it badly. I did it. So I would recommend the same thing to anybody. You know, it goes back to, I suppose, to dreaming. Dream, work towards your dream. You have to make your own investment. You have to make your own investment. Stop complaining. I'm not getting this. I'm not, do not wait for your country to do or whatever for you. Do your part, your bit for your country. It's as simple as that. So I made that investment to go to London to do the memoir writing course. And today, I'm able to tell you I've completed the manuscript of an autobiography.
Yes.
Likewise, I went to Frankfurt and I made some wonderful connections that has got me here. Otherwise, this would not have happened. So I suppose what I'm saying here is find out, when you know that there are so many things available, go out there, chase your dreams.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause, everyone. That is a very inspiring recollection and sharing of experience. So we hope to see your second book soon, or maybe the sequel to The Seed. We are not sure what is going to be titled. But anyway, congratulations. And thank you everyone. Terima kasih kepada semua pengunjung Selangor International Book Fair yang hadir bersama-sama kami di hadapan ini dan juga yang sedang membeli belah ya. Silakan kedai buku yang bukan kedai buku ya, maksud saya reruai ada di luar ya, di luar dewan ini di bawah fiksi ya. Jadi boleh dapatkan, sementara penulisnya ada di sini, boleh dapatkan tanda tangan sekali. Terima kasih banyak Madam Geetha. Thank you everyone. That's all for today. We will see you again in the next session. But I can see that there are hungry faces here wanting to ask questions. I'm sorry if I sort of closed earlier. Anyone would like to share, to ask something? Yes, I think, yes, we have here. I can pass the mic.
Okay, hi Geetha. Okay, maybe in future you want to write about cabinet after the seat, kitchen cabinet.
Thank you.
Maybe the protagonist is functioning from a kitchen when she's admiring her kitchen cabinet and then thinking about what kind of a cabinet she is going to have and what her or his idea might be. So thank you for giving me that idea. All right. So I hope that answers.
Another question.
Anyway, when we say kitchen cabinet, the food start from the kitchen cabinet, right? And all masyarakat Malaysia need to find money to bayar duit rumah dia. So the cabinet have to make sure that masyarakat get something out of their leadership. So you should write the books cabinet.
All right. Thank you so much for the encouragement and the motivation. I will definitely be considering that. I think there's another question.
First, I must say, as a friend Geetha, that you've had a fantastic interviewer.
Yes, I think so.
Yes,
it went so fluidly.
Yes, and she brought, everything that she needs to bring out of a writer. I think you did very well, I think. Okay, and Geetha, when exactly did you write that book, Seat?
I started writing The Seat about 3 months after the election, so it was 2019. So it took me about 10 months to complete. Yes.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Yes.
Hi, Geetha. Do you think a good writer or a novel writer must read a lot of books to do your writing? It is necessary for you to read a lot of books to become a writer.
I think it is very, very important for everybody, not just people who want to become writers, to do a lot of reading. It's very important to read across the genres, to read as much as you can. It's very important for us to nurture reading in young children. You have to start it as young as possible. But I think the one thing I want to add here is it's important for us not to allow ourselves to be influenced by a certain type of thinking or
style of writing.
A style of writing, yes.
That's
It's important for individuals to develop your own voice.
Yes. That's okay.
Excellent questions. Thank you again, everyone. Anyone else would you like to have a one-to-one? Yes, here. A representative from the guys.
Yeah. Anyway, I would like to ask you to share something when you were writing this book. I am aware of this, but I think the rest should know this as well. You did speak up to so many people from Selangor, people who had forgotten about Selangor, but you rekindled their memories. I remember the guy in that school and things like that. So it will be good to actually share those sort of memories. The people you spoke to who had forgotten about Segambut as well, but when you spoke to them and you told them you wanted to write something about Segambut, and then they came out with their own memories. Do you still remember those?
Yes. There are a lot of memories that came back to me while I was writing this book, talking to people from Segambut and all that. But what I remember and what left a significant impact was one day when I went to Sekolah Kebangsaan Segambut, because that's where Segambut people, many people, it was one of the voting stations. So I went to visit there to make sure the description of the place was accurate, okay? And at that time, masa tu, I was also very curious to write about Segambut dalam yang sebenar-benarnya at the penghujung. See, the road through Segambut berakhir at one point where it's all hutan, you know, and the bus stop was there, it was just the forest, but it was so thickly forested, we were not allowed to go there, you know, to the hujung-hujung and all that, because they said, oh, that one very deep lah, ada kampung orang asli lah, and all that. And budak-budak kampung, the Malay boys in my kampung yang pernah berbasikal kat situ, and then they would go main-main in the hutan and all that, they came back and they said, oh, ada air terjun and all that. So, but I mean, as a girl, I was not allowed to do all that. But I wanted to write about it in the book, about particularly that kawasan yang hari ini, of course, dah jadi Mount Kiara, okay? And about that hutan, about what happened to that orang asli community and what happened to the air terjun, right? But I did not have the pengalaman because tak pernah tengok, okay? So one day, I went to the school and I was looking around the school and there was a Malay lady sitting in one corner just looking at me, and then suddenly she said, "Kau tengok apa ni?" I said, "Tak adalah, saja." "Saja apa? Dari tadi aku tengok the way you pandang sekolah ni pun semacam je." I said, "No lah, I'm working on a project." But masa tu aku malu lah. I didn't want to tell her I'm writing a book and all that, kan. So I said, "No, I'm working on a project and I'm talking about Segambut Dalam." She said, "Segambut Dalam mana?" I said, "Segambut Dalam-dalam." She said, "Aku dari Segambut Dalam dulu. Engkau nak tahu apa?" I said, "Aku pun Segambut Dalam." "Kau Segambut Dalam mana?" I said, "Landasan kereta api." She said, "Itu bukan betul-betul Segambut Dalam. I duduk dekat hutan dulu. My kampung was inside." I was like, "What? You dari kampung Segambut Dalam?" She said, "Yes." And then I said, do you have, you don't live there because kampung tu dah tak wujud lagi. So she said, "Do you remember?" I said, "Of course lah, ingat lagi. Bukan tua sangat." She said, "What do you want to know?" And then I said, "Look, aku pernah dengar there was this air terjun. I want to know, how was this air terjun? Apa jadi pada air terjun tu?" Then she was like, "Memang ada air terjun tu. I tell you kat kampung aku." And then the way she described the air terjun tu, aku nak menangis. She was saying, all this in bahasa Malaysia, yeah? She was saying, you know, air terjun tu bukan berbesar sangat, tapi aliran dia cantik tau. You tengok macam ni, the rose like that, it will come, and then ada, dia bertakung like that, there's a pool, and then daripada situ, orang kampung, they say, because from the pool, it became like a saluran, yeah? The river splintered, and orang kampung, so pandai, they used buluh to salurkan air kepada rumah-rumah mereka, you know. And then she was describing all that, and I really wanted to cry because here was a real person. Nama dia Salma. I took her number. I must call her. I must make contact with her. So, and then she was telling me, that is Segambut Dalam. And then I said, okay, and then what happened? Then she said, in 1992 or 4, masa tu, my family pun dah keluar. They said, the developers came, I had a talk with the orang kampung. Long story short, kampung disappeared. Then I said, hey, before I forget, was there an orang asli establishment, dalam-dalam? She said, memang ada. What happened to them? I don't know. Kalau kampung lenyap, bayangkanlah orang asli. So this is one of, this is the most interesting nugget that I can recall when I was working on this book. And thank you for that question. Thank you for rekindling that memory.
Thank you. That is, I have to make sure. Would you like to ask a question, yeah? Very short one, I believe.
Hi, Geetha. Now I speak for Bahasa Malaysia.
Boleh,
Okay.
boleh.
Okay. macam Puan Geetha cakap tu memang betul. Saya Puan Geetha, I from Selangor. I from Selangor. That Puan Geetha cerita tadi, kan? The last bus stop, itu last bus stop zaman dulu. Lepas
Bus
tu
number
gate,
91.
yes, lepas tu ada gate kereta api. Saya nak tahu masa tu Puan Geetha duduk kat mana tu? Di area mana?
Kampung saya Sungai Jernih kat
Yo,
Landasan.
Landasan.
So-
Itu apa, masa tu Kasim Tadin punya area tu Encik Hasnah, Ketua Wanita Cawangan. Lepas tu, bas tu, the last bus. Memang betul. Zaman dulu, orang-orang Segambut menggunakan air daripada bukit. Betul tak betul?
Betul, betul.
Air bukit digunakan salur buluh. Situ memang air memang jernih dan sejuk. Jadi saya terdengar tadi, saya duduk relax kat sini. Terdengar, ini Segambut. Itu saya pun terus datang. Jadi buku ni memang betul apa yang Puan Geetha menceritakan hal di Segambut. Dan juga rumah, satu lagi, rumah bekas sekarang PM lah. Anwar Ibrahim di atas estate. Dia rumah ni di atas bukit. Rumah Anwar Ibrahim, Anwar Ibrahim.
Tapi yang tu kawasan
atas bukit.
glamour.
Itu kawasan glamour.
Bukit Segambut.
Yes, Bukit Segambut. Dan juga mungkin Puan Geetha dalam ni tidak ada menceritakan kompresor Johari Saleh. Johari Saleh, kompresor, dia pernah duduk di Segambut. Dia Singaporean. Johari Saleh. Itu saja Puan Geetha. Okay. Thank you, Johari. Thank you. Pasal saya sebut Segambut tu, saya semangat datang.
Terima kasih banyak, Cik. Wow, ramai juga kita bertemu ya. Macam jejak kasih pula kan. Okey, terima kasih banyak tuan-tuan puan-puan. Kita wrap up. Itu tadi soalan terakhir. Terima kasih banyak sekali lagi yang tidak terhingga. Boleh jumpa Madam Geetha di Reruai Fiksi untuk mendapatkan buku beliau, The Seed, dengan tanda tangan sekali ya. Okey, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum. Dan teruskan tuan-tuan puan membeli belah di Selangor International Book Fair 2022. Jumpa lagi selepas ini.